African football, Patrice Motsepe, who is standing by on the track for the arrival of the Cameroonian president. We will then have the closing ceremony with musical acts and some dancing, representative of the culture here of Cameroon. That's the glorious stadium that you see here with everything in place, standing by for the start of the competition. Paul Biya, along with Mrs. Chantal Biya, who is the wife of the president.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic, Madame Chantal Biya, the great African football family wishes you a warm welcome to the Olembe Stadium on the occasion of the closing of the African Cup of Nations, contre, Cameroun 2021.
Cameroon's president will now receive the national anthem. Well, the Cameroonians will not get to hear their national anthem before the kickoff of the final. Their team knocked out in the semis, but that certainly will lift the spirits after what has been a disappointing week for them. Last night, of course, though, some consolation. They won third place at the tournament. 3 goals down in the second half. Fought back for an incredible victory in the bronze medal match against Burkina Faso. And they will be on the podium tonight at the end of footballing matters to collect their bronze medals for their performance last evening. Now, once the presidential cavalcade has passed and the president greets the crowd, we can begin with the closing ceremony for this competition. Cameroon's president in power for some 4 decades. The oldest serving leader of an African country. tournament, an opportunity for Cameroon, of course, to promote itself around the world, hosting the African Cup of Nations for the second time, 50 years after their first hosting. That was back in 1972. Their team as well knocked out at the semi-final stage. They have won the Cup of Nations 5 times. A record better only by the Egyptians, who this evening will be attempting an 8th success in the Africa Cup of Nations. 3 in a row, of course, between 2006 and 2010. They haven't won since then, Egypt. Their opponent Senegal yet to win Africa's top title, but were in the final at the last edition in Cairo, losing to Algeria by a single goal. 5 stadiums built or refurbished for this tournament by Cameroon. They'll certainly be left with a rich infrastructure, much improved from the days when there were just 2 venues available in Douala and in Yaoundé. Although somewhat ironic that the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium proved the best of the lot. The old Yaoundé venue with 12 matches hosted at this tournament, making Yaoundé now the 3rd most prolific city in the history of the African Cup of Nations, behind Cairo and Accra in terms of number of finals matches played. Egypt, of course, have hosted more Cup of Nations than any other country. This could be considered something of a victory lap for the Cameroonian president after the hosting of this tournament. Cameroon were supposed to host it in 2019, delayed for another edition. And after 29 days of action, we have come to the point where we will decide, or we will find out, who the new African champions are. 10 flights today arriving from Cairo, some 4,500 spectators added to the numbers over the last day or two from Egypt to support their national team in their bid to win this Africa Cup of Nations. Also flights arriving from Dakar with supporters for Senegal, not as numerous as the Egyptians, but they will be heard and they will be in the house for today's encounter. Symbol of just how important this title is on the African continent and what it means to the various countries. There was some footage posted earlier on social media of all of the Egypt Air and Air Cairo flights parked on the tarmac at Yaoundé Airport. A lot of these fans will have arrived in the morning and at the end of the game will be taken back to the airport, fly home overnight, and we'll be hoping that it'll be all smiles when they arrive home on Monday morning. Big night, particularly for Senegalese football. They've been in this situation twice before, never emerged as winners. This might seem a little bit of old hat for the Egyptians, given how they have dominated the Africa Cup of Nations in the past. They are the country with not only the most number of titles, also the most appearances in the final, the most number of times they've qualified for a finals tournament, most games played at a finals tournament, most victories, most goals, and until recently, the most successive appearances as well, a record that Tunisia has taken away from them. 15th tournament for Senegal. Much anticipation for their national side. Perhaps for the first time favourites as well, marginal, but favourites nevertheless coming into this game. They were the underdogs against Cameroon in 2002 in Bamako, Mali, where they lost on post-match penalties. That was an emerging team that went on to reach the quarterfinals of the World Cup in Japan and South Korea in what was only the second time that an African side had got to the last 8 of the World Cup. And then, of course, 2019, this generation, and most of these players involved in the final against Algeria some 938 days ago now, since Senegal were beaten by an early goal for the Algerians and then a very stout defensive performance. Senegal's colours, of course, not far away from those of the host nation, so it might seem as if they have more support in the crowd, but there will be the majority will be Cameroonians who would have been hoping their own side would have been competing in this game, but are here nevertheless to experience the thrill of watching an Africa Cup of Nations final. This is the 33rd time we will have a deciding match at the end of an African Championship. We wait for the closing ceremony and the artists who will perform. It's a fairly brief ceremony of about 15 minutes, and then the two teams will be out on the pitch for their warm-up. The game, of course, will kick off at 8 p.m. local time in Cameroon, which is 7 p.m. GMT. First final, of course, was in Khartoum back in 1957. The Egyptians won that in fairly convincing fashion. They've gone on over the years to certainly dominate. The fact that they were amongst the founder members of the African Football Confederation does help. There is Paul Biya now, having taken his place in the crowd along with his wife. Next to him, Patrice Motsepe, the president of the Confederation of African Football, as well as FIFA's boss, Gianni Infantino.
Direction la sortie par éléments successifs. Direction une fois d'autres en partant. En avant! Marche!
You see the VIP area directly in the middle of the picture. Above that, the press facilities where the television and radio commentary, as well as all of the written media, are performing their tasks this evening. Stadium won't be full, of course. Restrictions on the numbers here at the Olembe Stadium because of the COVID protocols in this country. Matches with Cameroon were allowed to have a higher percentage than matches without the participation of the host country, but it does mean less numbers than we would usually have at this competition. Infantino and Patrice Motsepe have been meeting over the last 24 hours with clubs around the proposal of a Super League for African football to start late next year. The top clubs in Africa are invited as well to not only participate in this seminar but come and watch this game here today. Cameroon military will depart, and then we will begin with the opening ceremony. VIP area, of course, will be strictly controlled for the leadership of Cameroonian government, as well as the prominent figures in the Confederation of African Football, some of the FIFA invitees for this tournament as well. Crowd now looking forward to the closing ceremony, an opportunity to take in some of Cameroon's best musical talent. As the last of the military parade leaves the Olembe Stadium. Various branches of the service in Cameroon. Band has certainly kept the crowd entertained to date. Set the tone for what will be, we hope, a wonderful atmosphere for the final here of the Africa Cup of Nations. It's the only the second time in Yaoundé. Go back to 1972 and the 3-1 victory for Congo, 3-2 victory for Congo over Mali in that final. Mali took the lead at half-time. Congo scored 3 goals in the space of 4 minutes midway through the second half. Eventually conceded 1, but won the game by 3 goals to 2. Congo not qualifying for this tournament. Mali making it through to the round of 16 and then suffering a rather shock defeat, albeit on post-match penalties at the hands of tiny Equatorial Guinea. One of the great surprise stories of a tournament littered with shock results. The achievements of the likes of Comores and Gambia as well. The early dismissal of teams like Algeria and Ghana.
Programme de la cérémonie. Excellences, Monsieur le Président de la République du Cameroun, Madame la Première Dame, Monsieur le Président de la Confédération africaine de football, Monsieur le Président de la FIFA, Madame la Directrice générale de l'UNESCO, Monsieur le chef de la délégation égyptienne, Monsieur le chef de la délégation sénégalaise, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, le programme de la cérémonie de clôture de la 33e édition de la Coupe d'Afrique des Nations de football CAN Total Énergie Cameroun 2021 prévoit une parade culturelle. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
So, cultural parade.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Cameroon, the First Lady, the President of the Confederation of African Football, the President of FIFA, Madame Director General of UNESCO, the head of Egyptian delegation, the head of Senegalese delegation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the program of the closing ceremony of the 33rd edition of the Football Africa Cup of Nations, Total Energy AFCON Cameroun 2021 will be marked by a cultural display. Thank you for your attention. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, you are now cordially invited to watch the cultural display. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, vous êtes maintenant invités à bien vouloir vivre la parade culturelle. Je vous remercie.
So the invitation to watch the parade of Cameroonian culture.